Hi guys, my name is Kerbi and today we are going to learn about the history of candy. After that, we will learn about how Aztecs used to make hot chocolate and how it compares and differs to how we make hot chocolate now. I hope you have a blast! Today we are going to learn about the history of candy. What is candy? Candy is any confection made of sugar and other sweet ingredients. The definition: candy is a sweet food item or confection made of flavored sugar or syrup and often containing chocolate, fruit, or nuts. So in the United States, the term candy refers to a broad category of any confection made primarily of sugar and other sweet ingredients. Chocolate is referred to as candy in America and often added to other food ingredients to form candy combinations. This general definition does not hold in other countries. The term candy is almost never used in the United Kingdom, and instead they are called sweets. The history of candy. The word candy comes from the Sanskrit term khanda, which means a piece of sugar. The Arabic term kandi, which means made of sugar, can also be how we came to use the word candy. Indians boiled sugarcane to create brown sugar around 4000 BC. Ancient Egyptians and ancient Greeks also used honey to create sweets. Egyptians used honey to make marshmallows and honey cakes, which were honey with dates, seeds, and nuts. Greeks were using honey to make candied fruits, stems, and flowers. They also made syrup out of figs and dates. All around the world, ancient cultures were creating sweet treats. Ancient Mexican people used cocoa powder to make the first chocolate drink. In the 5th century, Spain began growing licorice plants to make sweets. Asia made sweets with sugar, as well as ginger, licorice roots, and nuts. Arabs created caramel around 1950 AD. They went on to create lozenges, which are candy drops or sometimes cough drops nowadays, and marzipan. Native Americans boiled tree sap to create maple syrup and maple sugar. Sugar to Europe. When Europe started trade routes to the Middle East, they were introduced to sugar and the culture's sweet treats. Desire for these treats caused Europe to start farming sugarcane in the 1400s. Sugarcane is how we get sugar. When Europe invaded the Americas, they used warm climate countries like Brazil and the Caribbean islands to grow sugarcane. As you can see from the map, India is farthest to your right, and then from there sugar traveled into the Middle East and then farther on to Europe, and then Europe went over the ocean in the 1500s to cultivate sugarcane in Middle America and in South America. Hot chocolate. The Spanish invader Hernando Cortez tasted the first hot chocolate, a hot, bitter drink from the Aztecs of Mexico. He took over Mexico and took all of their cocoa. Not all loved the drink as much as Cortez. Some thought the drink was nasty because it was so bitter, and then decided to add sugar to it to create a better tasting hot chocolate. This is a little closer to the hot chocolate we have come to know and love today. In the 1800s was the boom of candy creation. In the 1800s, chocolate spread to the rest of Europe after Cortez invaded Mexico. Hard candy became popular at time, and rock candy was a happy accident that was discovered. Other popular candies that were created at the time were milk chocolate, where previously they had not added milk components to the chocolate to give it a creamier flavor, and the chocolate bar, which was a solid piece of chocolate, as we know, similar to a Hershey's bar. In the 1900s, peppermint and lemon drops became very popular in the early 1900s. The candy bar became popular during World War I. We gave it out to soldiers who were fighting in Europe. We created lollipops, saltwater taffy, and fudge. After the 1900s started, candy innovation really came to boom, and that's when you start seeing the beloved candy that you know of today. Now that you guys know a little bit about the history of candy, I am going to move into the kitchen and we are going to make Aztec hot chocolate. We're gonna see it, I'm gonna taste it, then we may add some sugar to it to get it closer to what the Spaniards thought afterwards, and then we'll make a hot chocolate that is standard to today and compare them. Parents, I will include the ingredients lists and the links to both recipes if you would like to make them with your kids. Be warned, the Aztec hot chocolate is very bitter and might not be beloved by all. Alright guys, we are going to get started with our Aztec hot chocolate. So you're going to bring 1.5 cups of water to a boil. Now, next up, the recipe calls for you to boil 1 green chili pepper with the seeds included in the water once the water is boiling, and cook it for 5 to 10 minutes. Then you are supposed to strain the chili pepper and the seeds from the water and return the water to the pot. I do not have a green chili pepper, so I am going to use cayenne powder instead and just add a pinch to it once my water starts boiling. Alright, my water is boiling now, so I am going to add a pinch of cayenne. You can have more or less. I have some really spicy cayenne powder, so a little bit does a lot, but if you want this to be spicier, you can add more. Once again, if you're following the standard recipe, you will let this boil for 5 to 10 minutes with the green pepper in, then strain the pepper out and add the water back in. Once you're done with that, the cayenne doesn't need to boil that long. Once you're done doing either step, you are going to add 4 cups of water. You're going to reduce the heat to medium-low and bring the water up to a slow boil. Once you have a light boil going, which I have an electric oven, so I had to turn my heat up a little higher than medium-low to achieve that, you can add your cocoa powder. You're adding a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. I'm going to stir that real quick, and you are also adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. You are going to let that boil for 5 to 10 minutes, stirring the entire time until the cocoa powder has dissolved. Keep in mind that this might be a little different depending on which cocoa powder you have. It won't be drastically different, but if you have regular cocoa powder, it will be more bitter, and if you have Dutch processed cocoa powder, they lower the pH during the process, and that makes it less bitter. And once you have all your ingredients, you're just going to stir it until it's all combined. This is the original version, which has no sugar in it. So you can give it a taste this way, and then you can always add sugar if you'd like. But it would be fun to try it without the sugar and see what it was like back in the day. All right, next up we have a Bon Appetit recipe for just standard hot chocolate. The ingredients you will need is 6 ounces or 3/4 cups chopped semi-sweet chocolate. I'm using chips, 3 cups of milk, 3/4 cup water, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, preferably Dutch processed. Like I said, the Dutch process makes it less bitter because it lowers the pH. And 3 tablespoons of sugar. So the first thing you're going to do is add your water to your pot. You're going to put your pot on medium-high heat. And when it starts to simmer, you are going to add your cocoa powder and whisk until no lumps remain. Our water is starting to simmer now, so we're going to add the cocoa powder and mix it until no lumps remain. Once there's no more lumps, you are going to add your milk. And then let that come back to a simmer. Once your milk is at a simmer, you can add your chocolate chips and your sugar. And then you are just going to mix that. Whisk that until it is smooth and creamy and all of the chocolate is melted. Which will be about 5 minutes. All right, guys, I hope you're ready to see the different hot chocolates, and then we will taste them and describe their differences. Here are the different hot chocolates. This is the Aztec Hot Chocolate right here. This is the Aztec Hot Chocolate with added sugar, how some of the Spaniards liked it because it was too bitter originally. And then this is a Bon Appetit hot chocolate recipe from now. You can look at them and see there's a difference in color. These are darker, they're a little runnier looking, and this one is lighter and a little thicker looking. You can see how this one has solids that are on the side of the cup when it poured in, where these two really don't. So this will be my first time trying all of these, so you'll get a genuine reaction. We are going to start out with the regular Aztec, go on to the Aztec with sugar, and then try the standard. Oh. It's spicy and bitter. They weren't wrong. I would agree with some of the Spaniards that it is not enjoyable. This one is the Aztec with sugar. I added a teaspoon of sugar to this, which in hindsight is probably a lot because there's not that much hot chocolate in here, but it's much better. There is a sweeter flavor. You still get some spiciness from the cayenne pepper or the chili through it, but it's pretty good. I would drink this. These are both very runny, you can tell. And let's try this one, which is a more standard hot chocolate when it's homemade recipe. Ooh, one's still very warm. This is extremely rich and it's thick. So why is this one thicker? Is it because it's made with milk instead of water. These two were made with water, and this one's mainly made of milk. Another difference is that this one has actual chocolate in it, which will make it thicker. Chocolate has milk solids in it as well, and fat that gives it some body and some texture. These two have no fat in them. This one would be extremely healthy to drink. This one a little less because it has sugar, and this also has sugar. So that is a fun little experiment to do with the family, and we can see what you guys like the best. I hope you had a good time today. I hope you learned a bunch about the history of candy and got to try some fun new drinks. See you next time.